Hey folks, Nathan here from Star Wars Beyond the Films, the Star Wars Timeline Gold, and the Star Wars Gaming Podcast Cloud City Casino, which you can find at StarWarsReport.com. Bringing you a look at another Star Wars RPG product from Fantasy Flight Games. This is Force and Destiny, Knights, that is Knights with a K, of Fate, a sourcebook for warriors. Now, taking a brief tour of what's inside here, we have, of course, our introductory material, kind of setting up what the rest of the book is going to be like. And then we get into Chapter 1, our character options here for Warriors of Light. We have warrior backgrounds, including Avenger, Crusader, and Mercenary. We have warrior morality, which goes into a nice new set of warrior moralities. And we have three new species, as is often the case. We have the Dowutin, the Mikian, and the Phytalon. So, characters from some of the newer materials out there. We keep flipping. We get into background of each species, our new specializations, which include the Colossus, the Juyo Berserker, and the Steel Hand Adept. Then into our new talents, warrior motivations with specific challenges for them to deal with, and our signature abilities, as typically we have a couple. We have the Deadly Reputation and Unmatched Ferocity signature abilities. And our new force power is Endure, essentially enduring pain and whatnot to continue the fight or perhaps even surge within a fight. We then have our new equipment and droids and whatnot in Tools of Battle, which, as you'd expect, give us new weapons, including new lightsabers, including some new lightsaber types, which are kind of cool, like a contained energy axe. We have new armor, new droids, new vehicles, new vessels, etc., as you would expect. Bring us then to our advice on how to actually work these characters into a campaign with The Path of Violence, Chapter 3. This goes in detail with the lightsaber forms 1 through 7. It does talk about Vapad briefly, and then gets into this idea about warriors and morality, which is probably the biggest question, which is how do you fight essentially the good fight? If a warrior is going to tend toward violence as a means to meeting some goal, how is it that you tell a story in which basically that violence itself is not immoral? How do you tell a story in which violence is essentially justified? How do you make it so these characters are not dipping way too close to the dark side or dipping into the dark side every time they go into battle? And it's essentially ways to address that. Maintaining the balance, a proactive peace, and how do you integrate these warriors into your campaign? How do you deal with the temptation towards violence and so forth, the challenges that they might face? How do you fit them into specialized roles? And how do you work them into stories that otherwise perhaps aren't focused on them? Then, of course, we have our adventures and our suggestions of ways to work them into campaigns and whatnot, but also a special section here on mindful assessment, which is sort of the ability to have your character sort of prepare before a battle, consider all the options, meditate, and come out with some type of advantage that they can use in that upcoming conflict. Again, as I said, it goes through different scenarios and whatnot, along with then your rewards for warriors, such as titles, follower benefits, and so on, ally beliefs, and so on and so on and so on. Basically giving you everything that you need to work those warriors into your campaign. It's not necessarily as heavy on the necessity, if you're going to be playing as a warrior, to have this book as it has been for some other source books, but I do think that a game master may want to check this out, particularly in dealing with this question of violence versus the morality thereof, and how to keep a warrior on the light side, but make tipping towards the dark side a dynamic point within the storytelling of the game. Makes for something that's probably better off less for players who are playing as warriors and more for the GM who's going to be playing or running a campaign in which warriors are a part. But that's our newest release here for Forces of Destiny here in late June into July of 2018.